Eva Zemanova is a native of Prague, a Buddhist and a direct experiencer of an ancient ET landing on Earth before any animal life existed on the Earth millions of years ago. Her event she directly recalled while in India is the Bodh Gaya event.
In parts 1 and 2, we discuss her background and concentrate on human consciousness and origins.
During the morning of January the 22nd, 2002, an event took place that has definite ramifications for the planet Earth and indeed mankind. An event involving a dual time frame or time slip surrounding the emergency landing of a craft from another part of the universe. The witness to this amazing event interacted directly with the ship and its occupants. This witness transformed into one of the beings and was tasked to bring this event to the world's attention. This report hopefully will spark forward movement by the scientific community to investigate and follow through with a thorough research program into this unique and globally important event. Barry M. King, February 2010, author of the Bodh Gaya event report.
Then we go into the Bodh Gaya event in detail. This involves over 10,000 high-dimensional or higher-dimensional realm beings. And this is where we have to really concentrate because we're describing a different form of matter. The kind of matter that we are made of is a different or denser matter than the kind that these other beings were made of. Eva describes the stress and strains of transforming these higher dimensional or higher material beings of less dense physical matter into the kind of physical matter that we are made of today. The point is that I have two other entirely separate and independent witnesses who are recalling similar events. So whilst once again we don't have any physical evidence to describe and to show what we are talking about here, we're getting independent data from independent people of the same kind of seedings on Earth. Eva describes some strange gravitational anomaly which made these craft come here. Eva describes that there were many different craft operating independently. So we have a situation where other beings have come here by mistake and seeded humanity. Eva was brought to our attention by Barry King, a UFO investigator for London UFO Studies. I interviewed him in the Bases series in Bases 1 and Bases 2. He describes tremendously important information about programmable generated life forms relating to World War II, but in British bases in Berkshire. This is Barry King's statement in an email as of July 2012. There is not much to this, of course, and it's nigh impossible to corroborate, as the files concerning the operation are to remain locked until 2046. Yes, one of the 100-year locks, as were many from World War I. I can only give you the info I know from seeing partially blacked out files, word from senior personnel within the intel services, and from what little my dad told me in strict confidence over the years.
At the closing stages of World War II, my dad, in the Royal Engineers, was part of the Allied units that liberated one of the concentration camps. From there, his unit and an American unit were given a top-secret operation to complete. This was initiated after certain intel was forthcoming from a top-level Nazi officer. The operation was to locate and secure a particular Nazi R&D facility deep within Germany. The facility was located and found to be very hastily abandoned as files, documents, papers, etc. were scattered everywhere. The Allies found also bodies of beings not looking of human origin and the remains of an unusual aircraft. No details are available as this was blacked out, and I was told I was not privy to this level of information.
There you go. Take it or leave it. I can add that my dad was injured somehow during this time and was shipped home after a delay due to the sensitivity of the operation he was involved in. Barry King, July 2012. So this is evidence that during World War II, both the British, the Nazis and the Americans were involved with non-human beings, and specifically the Nazis were involved with non-human beings in concentration camps or camps of some form or other, and the biological interference or experimentation on prisoners of war or prisoners in those camps by the Nazis. This means that the Nazis were involved with aliens at least during World War II, and probably, as we now understand, with Marconi during the 1930s. So yes, the Germans had ETs in the concentration camps. So the British and Germans were mixed up with non-human beings during World War II. If you go back to Basis 1, it now makes more sense. This means the Germans were dealing with ETs before the war. This links Marconi and the broadcasting we know of today. Thus, a direct link with broadcasting, ETs, and accessing of human consciousness. This is important because there is a link between the ETs and the broadcasting that we are being broadcasting since Marconi, since the 1920s, since the start of broadcasting. The non-Tesla broadcasting. Remember, Tesla was broadcasting out of the solar system. He claims to have had replies from his 40 times the speed of light signals. So the reasons why those experiments were being conducted are part of what Eva has to say. With thanks to Barry King for bringing Eva into the public domain, here we have in great detail, over some hours, Eva Zemanova. So now we go to Prague and introduce Eva. This is Basis 16, and this is Miles Johnston reporting. Basis 16.
Really incredible. I thought you are at Basis 9.
Yes, I've gone 10. Yes, the whole way up to 16 now.
I've lost the count.
Yeah. Welcome to Basis 16.
Thanks.
And you've got a wonderful story to tell us. But first, what about you? And how do you come into this story? Who is Eva?
Well, so she is just one being who just appeared to be here at some point of this timeline. More precisely, in 1973, I was born in Prague. So I mean, this is the conventional story, right? And as far as my like identity goes, it's something you evolve when you remember yourself as a kid. So and later you come to define yourself as a being in a psychological sense and a spiritual sense. And when I was a teenager, I did lots of say spiritual search, or a deep philosophical thinking to who am I and what is the truth about life, what is the truth about universe. I was both interested in science and in philosophy. Originally, I wanted to study medicine and mathematics, sciences, biology, this and that. So I was enrolled in a college and preparing for the medical course here. But like my inner search actually directed me to another path. And in later years, I also discovered that I probably had what you call a spiritual guidance. Or then still later, I thought I probably had a guidance from these otherworldly beings who helped me to cross to where I could really functionally continue my path, my life path and my spiritual path, because I was very unhappy with facing the conventional system, the society, whatever you call it, the Western society or cultural norm of
What was
here.
the state of society then in Prague? Was it still communist, or what was the climate?
see, when I was born, then I think of it, that was the dark age of the of the regime. But then I was really young, and it was probably here. It was probably never so bad as in some of the eastern countries I know about, because we are in the middle of Europe, and we are all the center of a culture of education here, and just on the border between Germany, Austria, Poland, Holland, Slovakia. So it was never so bad, but still you had many restrictions, especially concerned with education. Whatever religion was not restricted, but it was not tolerated well, neither way well other philosophies or spirituality as such, and traveling was restricted, and opinions and behaviors of people were somehow controlled by the by the regime, by the Communist Party, whatever it may be. I as a kid, I never understood or took part in this kind of activities. The more normal side of this, say, regime or politics was that people were called to do like a public works, do things for free. I think that was the positive thing. Like the medical care was free, education was free that time. Lots of things were impossible to get in and get out. There was a big information blockade. So people, you could feel from inside and also outside that the freedom is missing. And when I was about 16, all the so-called Velvet Revolution happened. It was so
is that a soft kind of the Velvet Revolution? What does that mean?
The Velvet Revolution, they say, because there was no, there were some clashes, but there was no big fight. It was mostly a peaceful movement. It was a movement of students, and then joined by many other people who simply filled the squares, the main squares, and all said, we don't want this government, we don't want this regime, we want democracy, we want freedom, and go out of the castle, to the old government. And they had to obey, because it was such a huge number of people who just stood for the truth and for the freedom, and all was so, the spirit was joined. I was so excited. And of course, the government in the first phase, they sent police troops who blocked some of the main streets, and the students ran into them, and there was some kind of minor injuries, but fortunately, really nothing so bad happened. So it was called the Velvet Revolution. It's simply a peaceful process of transitions. Lots of the people who were in exile, or the dissidents, they came back. They became leaders of the country. They were released of jails, like our former President Václav Havel. He was very famous pro-democratic freedom figure. People. He was one of those people who were loved and respected, because he was not a politician by nature. He was more a philosopher. He passed away last year.
Oh, dear.
So this has happened when I was about 16. Again, I did not actively take part in that. Actually, when things happen, when things are going on in society, sometimes in the world, some big things are happening. On the spirit level, if you are a sensitive being, you can feel that. So I used I still, when something big is happening in the world, or maybe earthquake or some dramatic events, I usually feel a kind of turmoil inside. I feel affected for some reason. And at that time, I was also so very much more focused on my like a spiritual search than what is happening outside. But it's exactly how we have all moved over this dramatic period, and then I found I really don't want to continue the conventional way of the society, and I wanted to find what is the truth, real truth of life. And for me, India was a place of inspiration where I knew people, like sages and seers and yogis and meditators.
So you'd already made contact with them. You'd already established a friendship in India.
No, I had a yoga teachers here, and one of them, her name was Nada Shakti, and she lived in Hawaii and California. She was born here, but she traveled all over the world. Then she came back for some time to teach. She taught Anada Yoga, which is a yoga of sound. Basically, you practice meditation together with various, pure sounds connected to chakras and different parts of the body and organs. So you meditate like kind of using sound vibrations.
What type of yoga is that?
They call this Nada Yoga. There are many kinds of yoga. Nada means sound.
You had a calling.
An inner call.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard a call. I not in voice, but I felt simply I have to go there. It does not happen all the time that you actually know what to do, but I felt like now, wow, I have to go there because this is the thing I have to do. And I wanted to meditate, I wanted to reach enlightenment. I was prepared to leave everything here and meditate there somewhere in a cave. I was 18, 19 that time. Yeah. And I was just ready to spend a life in meditation and find the truth. And that's why I went to India when I was 19.
Now, when did the interdimensional beings or the higher dimensional beings come in? You mentioned something about other beings or other energies.
That I realized later, because that time I was not in a spiritual sense, like in the evolutionary sense. I mean, like an individual evolution. I was kind of a newbie. I would not go to the communication, just to admit that I have a communication with other beings. That would mean people, or even myself, it would feel a little bit, shaky. I would not feel good saying, I was subconsciously aware maybe there is such communication exists, that such beings exist, but it would be difficult for me to just to live openly. I have a communication with other beings, okay, that's fine.
Where does this bring us now on your path to India? And were you discussing things here in Prague were you running any discussion groups or things?
No, that time, you see, no, not really. I was, that time I was a student. I was preparing for medical college, and instead I left to India. And I stayed there. I mean, I left to India, and I started to study finally in Shivananda Ashram, because of course I came to India. I did not know anything about the reality of India and how the life goes there. But I was very lucky, or you may say the gods were with me. So I found good teachers, and I found a place in Shivananda Ashram, and teachers who loved me and taught me for free. So I had a Vedanta class. I studied Vedas and studied Sanskrit, which is the old language.
Is this the fundamental language, Sanskrit?
Yeah, Sanskrit is it's like the pure language. Sanskrit means the pure language, which was actually founded by they say there are various theories, but one of them is that the so-called Aryans were people who came to Indian subcontinent. They came from Persia, right?
Yes.
There's very close linguistic link with Old Persian language, because they once lived in the region of Persia. This nowadays is Iran. And it still exists. Old Persian exists. Parsi exists, and the people exist. Is one of the Zoroastrism, so-called, is one of the old surviving religions on earth that is tied to the Old Persia, and it's a very interesting, almost forgotten religion. And from that, maybe they don't know the dates, but it could be about 2,000 to 3,000 years BC. These people, part of them moved over. There were the various moves of the nations. They moved to the Indian subcontinent and established so-called Vedic culture.
Yeah. Now, just to get back to the original language, is it derived from pure tones or complex tones? The shape the tones give? Is that how the letters are written, based on some kind of complex?
They are based on yes, originally every language is based on sounds, and you are right. But it's a very complex language. It has 52 letters. And it's based to represent a system. They actually the sages, the seers, the first, the creators, the rishis, who composed this language and the letters. They already tried to, each letter was subscribed to a principle. So sort of like if you have in a Bible the principles of creation,
yes,
the wisdoms and this and that, Kabbalah tradition, similar. In the Sanskrit was formed similar way. There's vowels and consonants, and each of them, like the vowels would represent, there are 16 vowels that would represent divinities. They're completely out of the larger universal principles, and then the consonants would represent more like the human matters or links between them, and each syllable would have a specific meaning. So later on, when you have words, and then you can pick each letter and its meaning and understand how the meaning of the word was composed. So at the beginning, they understood the formation of the language as a similar way if you construct a computer system, just like a building.
But does this mean that the language has got two meanings? It has a symbolic meaning, and then you have the words which are used to construct something different, like everyday.
Sanskrit is actually it's called a pure language. For that you have no foul speech, no bad words in Sanskrit. It's interesting. So today is basically the scriptural language. It's like a Latin in Europe, then you have a Sanskrit in India. But then there was so-called Nagakrit. It was a Prakrit. It was before Sanskrit, the older language. Prakrit came to Sanskrit, means pure language. Nagakrit is like from Nagara, means city, the language of the city folks. There was the like.
So there must have been cities before, at the earliest. You're saying that there were cities.
Oh, there were, of course, there were cities. Like you had, there were even older ones. Like you had Mohenjo-daro and Harappa in Mesopotamia, and then some of the old cities were abandoned. People left. They don't know where till now. Supposedly, they simply left because of the Aryan invaders. But there might have been a conflict between two parties. We will never know what happened that time. Because
so the concept of alien invasion 7,000 years ago, are we talking 7,000 years now? That's 5,000 BC?
Yeah. Oh, we don't know exactly. But alien invasion that time, I doubt that. No, it's much older. The concept of the alien invasion is much older. Why? Because Vedas were recorded about that since then. Some people say 6,000 from 6,000 BC. It may be 4,000 BC. The very skeptical scholars would say it was from 2,000 to 3,000 BC. Vedas were and Sanskrit
What
were
are
recorded.
these alien invaders then? What?
No, but I'm going to complete it. They record, there were Vedas and Puranas. Vedas is a large collection of science and philosophy of these ancient people. We say before they were Iranians, after they were Brahmanas, Vedantins, whatever, all these folks, they try to record knowledge. So there's both secular knowledge and philosophical knowledge and religious knowledge, and there were different philosophical schools. They try to record meticulously what they knew, which is admirable because we have these records, the huge bunch of scriptures we have till now. And then there were Puranas, and Puranas were the legends. And those legends, they contained like the epics like Mahabharata and Ramayana. They recorded legends that speak about gods and demigods and different, wars and beings and special technologies. But I don't think that these events happened at the same time of the people. They were simply passed by generations to them from still, further past. What might be the time, I don't know. But even recently, I have read from different sources, like authors, some like authentic people, pandits, maybe from the beginning of last centuries, who tried to explore the theory about who were the Aryans, who were the ancients, and themselves they came to the conclusion that they might have lived somewhere near to the North Pole, because you have in the Vedas, allegedly, there are constellations, like astronomical observations attached to events recorded,
Yes.
that show different sky than is today. What does it say? That they portray a sky from different place on Earth. With kind of good precision.
Is that like a shift of the Earth's crust, or has whole Earth moved?
No, it's you have a so-called the precision of the equinox.
Yes, precession of the equinox.
Right.
Yeah. So because man exists, it governs a certain law as to how the universe exists. It's, in other words, I think the simple concept is
There's a his universe, right?
if you have a roof, you must therefore have a house for the roof to come into being. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, but then it depends. I think the truth. That's what I know now. That the truth goes beyond this relativity. So it's what both Buddhism and Einstein taught is really important. It's a universal principle. because it's valid wherever you go in the space. You will still have to base your understanding on the relationship between, say, whatever it is, a form of particles and energy, and planets and orbits, different forms of energies interacting together. And that's why people say there are hypothetically infinite dimensions of existence. We can never confirm whether it's true or not, but we can presume it's possible, because there are very many possibilities how to look at single phenomenon. Yeah, from the point of energy, we are all just energy. Nothing is going on here.
Just our focus focuses on the surface of our being. So if our focus changes, our being would change.
What holds us together is our identity. So we have a sense of self, a sense of identity. That's what people go after all life mostly, and it's an important philosophical question about who am I? Who is a human being? Oh, right.
So does that mean that if human beings were to change, or if somebody was to change humanity, would that mean our existence would change?
I think it's actually constantly changing, but it's like everything is changing such a quick and subtle way that we actually do not notice the change, but we call it evolution in a broad sense.
And do you believe, is this happening now? Is this great change of 2012, is this something which people are going through now, or or have I jumped too far?
See, people always believed every time on the earth that their time and they are special. So we believe it now, and through something in the past century and the past 20 years, if you observe the speed of the technical evolution and also psychological changes in the society, and then the way how world looks, and population explosion, there are visible obvious changes, but there is still such a long way to go. So people always believe that their times are special, no matter that it was 2000 years ago at times of Christ, and there was before and many historical periods, whatever country it was a China, it was America, or it was Europe. I believe in Africa it had to be completely the same. People had the concept of history of humanity is very important for people. What kind of time span they can understand, because it's important for people to understand their history, to capture the past, to understand their origins. If they don't understand history, it's very difficult to understand present.
But the victor always writes history, so what is the real history?
History is whatever we have to accept, in the limited way as a human being, whatever is written in our genes. It's in our biological system, in the genes.
Yeah.
So it's also in the consciousness we share, is whatever we have enspirited, wherever we share this, what you called this global unconscious of mankind, which is a Jungian term, and the Vedic term is the whatever. People call this Akashic records. It's a westernized, term that comes from the Vedas, but it simply means sharing one field, like a matrix of awareness that would be like a biosphere, or nowadays science, also anthropology, they invented the term anthroposphere,
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a human sphere. It simply covers the consciousness of humankind from its very beginnings to its long future. I dare to say it's the case. So even though the face of the earth and the form of mankind was transformed many times, and civilizations, have arisen and fallen and everything, it's still a evolution process. It's happening all the time, and it will go along yet. So to that question, I'm really not expecting any big dramatic events any soon. I think you have been, you gave a lot of thought, and your part of research, also inner research, to this,
So,
subject.
okay, consciousness and what you were saying about consciousness, if that consciousness was altered, or if somebody manipulated that consciousness, would we then be changed?
We are being changed. We changed by all that we do, even as a mankind. I'm not sure if you are referring to change by some other supercosmic entity or
I'm
other
referring to
beings, but we are basically whatever we do. Our it's a feedback.
In
So
other words, I'm saying that if somebody wished to change mankind, they would affect our consciousness in some way, manipulate our consciousness. So therefore, if somebody was able to do that, maybe they could attack mankind.
Right. I will explain that part even a little bit later, because there are reasons why I think that mankind cannot be so easily manipulated and distracted as they think in the long term, because its own origins, because its own biology being formerly very advanced. So, but in the, say, short profile, and short profile in this way can mean thousands of years, or maybe millions of years. Of course, if mankind in the past mated with animals, is affecting us today. If they were crossbreeded with some other cosmic race, of course it's affecting us today. So whatever we do now will show up in the next future generations, because the results, whatever experiments, just say genetical experiments, even we do as in the laboratories, they do not see immediate impact. The results they do not see at that period of time. They will see them after several generations.
So, for instance, this is why there's such a disturbing concern about genetically modified.
Yeah,
food.
that's one of the things. Whether it's plants or animals, or whether it's humans, they do not know what kind of consequences there will be in the long term. It may stop, or it may alter, or it does alter certain the natural processes that would shape the bioinformation otherwise. So at the end, it may cause the species to be extinct. They must, stop reproducing at some point in the future.
So, in essence, if you were to control or access our collective consciousness, you could get us to destroy ourselves.
It's a dangerous game.
Yes.
It's always really dangerous to play with the essential life codes, or believe that we
Or the keys.
Yeah, or believe that we could be the creators or co-creators of life.
Because there has been some of the other people with the AMMACH project and with the bases is the manipulation of the life force energy from animals to be placed into human clones.
Right, but it happened many times in the past.
It has happened in the past.
Oh, it has happened, of course, in the,
in Atlantis?
Don't know, whatever the names are, very much deeper history of mankind. See, mankind has been here, whatever the mainstream science
Can we
says.
talk about that more? Can you explain more about that?
Yes, but that goes to the events I'm aware of, that there was a beginning when mankind came to the earth as a intelligent, very advanced and intelligent species, and crashed on the earth.
Explain that. So mankind came to Earth.
Well, the predecessors of mankind.
And were there many different types?
No, that was basically one kind of beings, very advanced kind of beings, would basically call the elders in a space terms, not in the only in the earth terms. But that was very advanced race of space beings.
So they came here from where?
Came
Do we know?
their home, and that's I'm not sure how far away it is really, but it would be maybe millions of light years away. Sounds incredible.
So we really don't know where.
We may find out at some point, because the telescopes nowadays, they are improving, and we may. What is more important is we may acquire the inner knowledge. That's maybe we get to this later on, but also, as a mankind, we keep discovering what is really written down in ourselves. And also these beings, maybe they try to help us, they try to help mankind.
Yeah. Now, who are these other beings? Sorry.
Oh well, so this
we have the ancient elders.
Now I think I'm making it confusing, and not my intention. But well, so simply these beings came. They had an accident. That's, I think, the event what we are referring to as the Bodh Gaya event. Why? Simply because the location nowadays is called Bodh Gaya.
How would you describe it as?
Well, it was also extraterrestrial visitation, meeting, time travel.
Right. Well, we'll get at it. We'll get to that later, but we really want to continue to explore the groundwork to this. Right. So you said that we'd confused a couple of issues.
So simply these beings, they came here, and how long ago it may be? Maybe I think at that time I got the information it was 80 million years ago, but I'm not dwelling on that term. Maybe more or less. The important fact is that that time these were the only intelligent beings on the earth. And then later there was another, the earth was seeded by life forms in several phases. It actually goes quite well with maybe what Professor Davis describes as the hypothetically the shadowy biosphere, the possibility that alive, the opponent hypothesis is the Gaia hypothesis, and they think that alive sprung came from one tree, one stem, and it evolved on the earth to all the different life forms, I think I don't want to be rude, but this kind of evolution belief, the theory that the bacteria evolves to advanced organism in such a way, it's kind of crazy theory.
So you're referring to seeded civilization.
So I'm referring to how different that Earth is being seeded by life. So first there was a plant life that evolved to many different forms, and perhaps started a small way animal forms in a marine life and this and that. But then came, then these advanced beings, the human predecessors, they actually crashed here at some point, and they are here since. And after that, there came another waves of life.
Are you saying the elders are still here?
Yes, they are here more than one way. They are here in human beings, and also some are here in their own form. And
what do you mean by their own form? A spiritual form or an energy, or?
No, as biological entities. I will explain it later.
Yes.
How is that possible? But as a biological entities, they were actually they are real. They are not they don't have a dual character. They don't there's no concept of a body and soul. They're one thing.
Well, this is amazing. We'll continue this in the second part of Basis 16 and continue to explore the higher concepts of humanity's consciousness. And then we'll get on to your major event in India.
It's very interesting talking to you. I think you have very good insights.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.